And greetings. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show, live and on demand here on BlazeTV, radio, and podcast. I'm Steve Deace alongside Todd Erzin, Aaron McIntyre, and all of you. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox. You can email the program, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Steve Deace Show. And then check us out on the various free speech platforms out there, Gab, MeWe, and Parler. Just look for Steve Deace there. If you like censored clips of the program, go to youtube.com/Steve Deace. If you're that's your fetish, you're into the censorship thing. If you want things that are unfiltered, go to rumble.com/Steve Deace Show, or just subscribe to us directly, and you don't have to worry that today could be the day that you don't get to ever watch or view us or listen to us via one of these free platforms ever again. BlazeTV.com/Deace. Another recognition for our new book, Faucian Bargain, the most powerful and dangerous bureaucrat in American history. We are number 3 overall at Barnes & Noble right now as we speak. Number 3 overall. And this book just got placed there a few days ago. Okay. So cannot thank all of you enough. And I guess that also tells us that there were a lot of you that just don't want to give your money to Amazon any longer. And by golly, we love that about you and can't blame you for that at all. If there was any other outlet that could have allowed us to get this message into as many hands without having to allow them to profit off of it as well, we would have done so. Unfortunately, there is not. But now that we have saturated that market, we can now look at the second biggest market, which is Barnes & Noble. It's dwarfed by comparison, but still a lot of people are there. And we are the number 3 overall book today at Barnes & Noble. So thank you very much. You're helping us to experience something real. A real second wave, if you will, of success here for Faucian Bargain. So thank you. All right, coming up on the show today, we have a very, very busy day in store for you. A guest next hour I am really looking forward to. I heard him recently on my colleague Daniel Horowitz's podcast. Numerous emails from many of you have asked us to put this individual on the show. He will be with us later today at the top of the next hour. Dr. Ryan Cole is going to join us here. He has treated numerous COVID patients as a practitioner, and we're going to separate some fact from fiction. Now, we wanted to have this interview scheduled as soon as we could. This interview was scheduled today before any of the news we're about to talk about after Aaron's montage. Any of this news broke involving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's just providential that news and this interview aligned for today. So we're going to try to get as many questions answered for you. And this is now more on the medical practice side, not on the public policy side. All right, because how do we handle this now as individuals, as families? We're going to try to get some answers, as many answers for you as we can in the next hour. Pop Culture Tuesday. Unbelievable, man, but Bill Maher has done it again. Bill Maher has done it again with another outstanding rant. We're actually going to share some of this with you. It was out on social media, going off on Hollywood and what's happened, what the woke religion has done to Hollywood and Hollywood liberals. And every word he says, just about every word, is true. In a way, Todd, what was the name of his documentary? Do you remember what it was? Religulous,
yes,
I believe. In a way, you know, he was almost too successful, wasn't?
Yeah.
I mean, Bill was so successful in ridiculing our belief system that left a vacant spot in the public square, and nature abhors a vacuum. So the woke religion has taken its place. Maybe he needs to do a Religulous Volume 2.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Yes, indeed. So we'll get into that with Pop Culture Tuesday. And then at the bottom of this hour, we're going to begin a new series on fake news or not. We're going to do a book study of our new book, Faucian Bargain. That will be what will occupy the space of fake news or not for the next several weeks as we go through this book chapter by chapter. So, again, a ton is going on here today. And before we get to any of it, though, here's Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by the vaccine skeptics. This time, they're coming from right inside the federal government. The Food and Drug Administration has suspended the use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine thanks to a blood clotting issue reported in 6 women. According to the FDA, all 6 cases occurred in women between the ages of 18 and 48, with symptoms developing 6 to 13 days after they received the shot. The Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System from the Department of Health and Human Services indicates a more broad instance of vaccine adverse events from the J&J vaccine. That vaccine, by the way, is related to the AstraZeneca vaccine, which has been suspended in numerous European countries. Around 6 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have already been administered. Neil deGrasse Tyson tweets, "The good thing about science is that it's true, whether or not you believe in it." The frozen steak brand Steakums took umbrage with Tyson's tweet, saying, quote, "Neil just posts ridiculous sound bites like this for clout, and he has no respect for epistemology," end quote. Speaking of epistemology, or lack thereof, the CDC has labeled racism a, quote, "serious public health threat." Learning Chinese today, today's phrase is, "Your mom's a serious public health threat."
你妈妈是严重的公共健康威胁.
But the variants update, a new study out of the UK finds people infected with the more contagious coronavirus variant first identified in the UK did not experience more severe symptoms and were not at higher risk of death. Babylon Bee headline, "Experts are super smart and 100% reliable," experts confirm. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held another roundtable with public health experts, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Scott Atlas, and Dr. Martin Kulldorff. They discussed the dangers of big tech censorship in discourse about the virus.
That's how science works. You do the evaluation based on the evidence. And, if someone presents to me better evidence, I'll change my mind. I mean, that's what my obligation is as a scientist. I think the censorship is an enormous mistake that has been made throughout this entire year. This idea that you have a narrative that you have to follow has been an error. It's sort of made it more difficult to address the epidemic in a meaningful way.
Moving on, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota was on fire again last night.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
The Brooklyn Center Police Department unveiled more information about the deadly officer-involved shooting that led to the riots. Apparently, the cop who fatally shot Dante Wright thought she had her taser when she was actually holding her gun. And finally, on the topic of The Answer Is Us, we have a case study in self-government recently from Shasta County, California, where a group of citizens informed 3 county supervisors that notices of intent were to be filed to recall them from office.
It is not a witch hunt. It is a necessary performance appraisal. As leadership in this county during 2020, your position has been critically assessed, and you are being held accountable by us, the citizens. The reason for a recall is as follows. First, a betrayal of public trust. These supervisors didn't defend our county from state government overreach. They bowed to Governor Newsom, a known corrupt, lawless politician, for county funding. Second, a need for fundamental change. For too long, our supervisors have operated without critical oversight by its citizens. Our board has been irresponsible with taxpayer money, directing it to be used in inefficient county programs like administration. Third, this is a last resort. We cannot afford to wait to elect new representation. We cannot risk another round of shutdowns, business closures, and school closures. We must have supervisors that will actively protect our county from state overreach, that will secure our rights to operate our businesses, schools, and churches as we see fit, and that will be proactive and innovative in their approach to return government to its smaller, proper role. This is not personal. This is responsible citizenship. These supervisors have performed poorly at reflecting the will of the residents of Shasta County. Therefore, a recall has become necessary to determine which supervisors continue to enjoy the support of their community and which ones need to be replaced.
That's how it's done, and that's what happened while we were away.
Amen. Hey, Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. That's not just a line in the script, even though it is a line in the script, but it's true. I've tried more than my share of them, and nothing is even close. Also, easy on the tummy, and it's a protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar. Right now, they've got 9 amazing flavors going, all of them covered in 100% real chocolate. They've got over 20 flavors of this, but there's just so much demand that they can't just keep up all the flavors with all the demand out there. So you can work any lifestyle with this, whether it's low calorie, low sugar, low carb, etc. I mean, when you look at every one of their bars has up to 18, 20 grams of protein, 160 calories or less. They average about 4 net carbs. Some of them, like the chocolate chip cookie dough, are a little bit more decadent. They're still only 7 net carbs, 180 calories or less, 5 grams of sugar or less on average. When you're dealing with those kinds of numbers, just about any lifestyle, healthy lifestyle you want to live, Built Bar fits into. And they taste phenomenal. The texture of a candy bar, it's the most nutritious candy bar you've ever had. It is the best tasting protein bar you have ever tried. So you want to go right now to BuiltBar.com, get 15% off your first order. If you've never tried these before, now's the time. Built Bar, B-U-I-L-T, BuiltBar.com. Get 15% off your first order when you use the promo code DEACE. DEACE, 15% off your first order. When you go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code DEACE. Email we just received from a Sue. She writes that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a dream for the transgender movement. Now maybe men can really have periods.
Sue for the win.
Can we laugh at that? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Unlike Anthony Fauci, I thought I'd get a second opinion on that. Also, we're already getting people clamoring for us to put that interview with Dr. Cole on the socials. We cannot. They'll just ban everything. Now, we can put it on Rumble. We're going to put it on rumble.com/Steve Deace Show later today. But if we posted that on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they would just take it all down. So that's the world we live in, folks. We're not in control of it. All right. We don't run those platforms. So that's just the reality. It would do us no good to put it out on those social media networks because they just take them down. So, we got a governor of a state right now who just instituted an executive order to punitively punish big tech for censorship, and they just last week censored him. All right. So that's just the world in which we live. And it's unfortunate that, Republicans had power to do something about this the last few years and chose not to. And now here we are. So, well, that's an evergreen tale too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, but we will put the Ryan Cole interview out on Rumble as a breakout today, rumble.com/Steve Deace Show. But unfortunately, we live in a society that does stuff like that. So there you go. All right, let's get to it. Pop Culture Tuesday is when we take a look at the intersection between pop culture and conservatism. And I must confess that when we started this segment on the show, what's it been, like 3, 4, 5 years ago we started this, right?
Yeah.
I never thought, if I'd have came up to you guys when we started this and said, guys, we're going to do a segment where we're going to feature a Bill Maher rant favorably, you'd have looked at me and said what?
Well, amongst the progressive horde, it's more likely him than anybody else, but I still said low.
Yeah, especially in this context.
Yes.
Like we might have found a political issue or two we agreed with him on where our interests intertwined, like his disdain for radical Islam, for example, right? But in this particular segment, where he was going to give a rant against Hollywood that almost, with a few exceptions, I happen to like Kong versus Godzilla, by the way, so did you.
Yeah.
But with a few exceptions, we could have, done a lot of these exact same themes.
Yes.
Probably not high, but we also live in a world where I am being retweeted again this morning by Dr. Naomi Wolf and directing people to her Twitter feed. And as a friend of mine texted me today, my head is about to explode because I just saw that. All right. So we live in a society where Naomi Wolf and Steve Deace now are wearing the same uniform, same jersey. So these are some perilous times, Obi-Wan, no question about it. But when observing what his beloved industry known as Hollywood calls entertainment these days, Bill Maher had this to say. we mentioned this at the beginning of the show when we previewed that we were going to run this. One of his claims to fame is the documentary Religulous, right? Making fun of, really people with an orthodox religious viewpoint. But I've told you before, over the years, every society is a theocracy. Every single one is. Every form of government, everything is ultimately a theocracy. It's just a matter of who the theo is. And since the real Theo, we've decided that we had the power to eject him, which we don't, by the way, and we're living through the consequences of that right now as we speak. But in our minds, we viewed ourselves as having the power to do so because, it was religulous. Well, it wasn't as if that spot at the head of the table was just going to remain vacant. No one was going to say, you know what? This chair fits nice. I'm going to sit down in here. And what has happened is, Bill, you have been, God bless you. See what I did there? You have been far more successful in your efforts, brother, than you think. Because now that now that the one true God has been ejected from that spot at the head of the table, the new gods will have a seat instead. And you will get all the shame and guilt and suffering with no redemption, no forgiveness offered whatsoever. You'll just drown and wallow in it. And that's what the woke religion is. That is what virtue signaling is. The line where he says nowadays movies are about suffering, yours. And they're about bad people, you. Right on the money. So, you know what? That old time religion that offered you forgiveness and redemption was too religious. We couldn't have that. So now the new boss will sit down there instead, and you'll get all of the sorrow and suffering, but none of the hope, redemption, or grace. How you like them apples?
Yeah, he keeps getting into this corner. Remember that spat a couple years with Batman, Ben Affleck, about Islam, and he's like, Christians aren't strapping C4 to their chest, you know. So he may be pining for that old time religion. This thing confirmed finally for me something I always thought about Bill Maher. Listen, I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin. I went to the University of Wisconsin. I definitely have a lot of friends that I don't see anymore, like Bill Maher. Bill Maher likes the Mets. He likes a good movie. We'd sit down. We'd give each other as good as we could on matters that we disagree on, but then we'd just drink a beer and share a sandwich and enjoy it. I think he really, and he says a lot of craven things about the Christian faith. I get it. And it's bad. And we fight him on that. But I think he is that dude that he'd be happy to have us on his show and vice versa, and just go for it and not be so damn miserable all the time. And secondly, this is what really makes me mad. This is how our side should have been going after progressivism for the last decade, just viciously with a punchline over and over again, because it's preposterously stupid. And Bill Maher understands that.
You know, we all know also the detrimental impact of all that content that we just sit around, that dumb, depressing content and watch online. But then there is what it does to the shortening of attention spans, loss of creativity, and more. That's why we're looking for better, more hopeful ways to give our children and grandchildren an enjoyable downtime. So we want to tell you about Annie's Kit Clubs in that regard, the perfect subscription box for both boys and girls. They've got the Young Workers Kit Club for the boys, where they get, with minimal supervision, an awesome woodworking project that comes in the mail every single month, all in one woodworking kit. And then for the boy, or for the girls, Annie's Creative Girls Club, which sends, now they get two. And every month they get two from Annie, and it's complete with easy to follow instructions that will kickstart her creativity through painting, beading, and more. So with Annie's Kit Clubs, you can help your kids develop real world building skills, stuff that they can use when they grow up out into the real world, and new crafting techniques that will also express their creativity. It makes a great gift for the kids and grandkids. Just go to annieskitclubs.com/Steve, ANNIES, for annieskitclubs.com/Steve, and get 75% off your first shipment at annieskitclubs.com/Steve. Aaron, you got a quick word here before we get out?
There are increasing numbers of people, and I think this is maybe part of what Bill Maher is talking about. He just wants to go be entertained. Basically, he wants to enjoy the fruits of true liberty and true classical liberalism. There are way too many people now who adversely say to that, instead of going and enjoying the fruits of liberty, they want to go, hey, you want to go to the struggle session with me? He's not in on that. He's not in on that. And I hope there are a lot more people like him.
Maybe one of the last hopes we have of keeping this thing together.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Overtime coming your way for Blaze TV subscribers. For the rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow. John 3:17.